Wine was sitting on the balcony couch, with a book resting on her lap. Though her eyes weren't moving across the pages, she wasn't reading. Her mind was elsewhere, tangled with heavy thoughts. Memories of what happened earlier at college kept replaying in her head. Some of the girls, along with the principal's daughter, had blamed her for something she never did. The argument had escalated into a fight, and of course the principal took his daughter's side. Now he wanted one's guardian to be called in. Her parents were no longer her option. She was married now, and her husband was her legal guardian. But how could she call him? What would he think of her if she dragged him into this mess? The thought made her sigh deeply, her chest tightened heavy. Still lost in thoughts, one slowly drifted into sleep without realizing it. The book slid slowly to the side as her breathing evened out. That night Jungkook returned home late from the office as always. Being the CEO of Jion Enterprise meant long hours of endless meetings. When he stepped into the balcony, his sharp gaze fell on the small figure curled up on the couch. His brow frowned instantly. There she was, fast asleep in the open night air. He let out a heavy sigh. His expression softened despite himself. He knew she had been waiting for him again. He always told her to go to bed early since she had university in the morning. But she was stubborn, too stubborn. Jungkook crouched down in front of her, his eyes lingering on her delicate, tired face. For a moment, the world felt quiet as he simply looked at her. Then, with another quiet sigh, he slipped his arms under her and lifted her carefully, making sure not to wake her, carrying her back inside. He gently laid her down on the bed, brushing a stain of her hair from her forehead. For all his coldness during the day, there was always these moments where he couldn't help but care. After refreshing up, Jungkook returned to the bedroom and quietly lay down beside Wine. His face, as always, was unreadable, a mask of compose he wore in front of the wall, but there was a faint softness there, the kind that only existed when it came to her. They had been married for 4 months now, a marriage neither of them had chosen. One's father's company had been on the verge of collapsing. Desperate to save it, he had turned to Jungkook's father for help. Their families had known each other for years, and in that moment of crisis, Jungkook's father made a proposal, an agreement sealed not with money but with marriage. Wine would marry Jungkook. Wine had never wanted to marry so soon. She wanted to build her career and finish her university, yet seeing her father's desperate situation, she couldn't refuse. On the other side, Jungkook wasn't ready either. He didn't want to get married this soon, but his family pressured him relentlessly, pushing him to start a married life. Against his will, he was too forced to into this marriage. On their wedding night, Jungkook told Wine everything honestly. How he had been forced into this marriage and how he wanted to maintain a respectful distance between them. Wine, who had no objection, simply nodded in agreement. She never dared to invade his personal space, and Jungkook didn't either. Yet, despite the distance, Jungkook fulfilled his every responsibility as a husband. He met all of Wine's wishes and even took all responsibility of her studies, knowing that her father's financial trouble meant he couldn't afford her studies. So, without telling anyone, Jungkook took care of her education and well-being. Day by day, Won found herself growing more grateful. She began falling for him, slowly, quietly, without even realizing it. She noticed the way he always made sure she had everything she needed. the way he cared for her deeply. For the first time since childhood, she truly felt cared for. Wine had lost her mother early and grown up with a father who always loved her but was always buried in work. She had never received the warmth, the attention, or the tenderness she craved. But now, in Jungkook's presence, in the care he showed her even without words, she found herself yearning for him, yearning for a love she knew she could not demand, because he too had been forced into this marriage. Meanwhile, Jungkook, though emotionally reserved and natural, expressionless, found himself falling for Wine without realizing it. Her innocence, her soft demeanor, the way she looked at him, even her sleeping presence, all of it started to break the walls around his heart. Every day seeing her made his heart beat faster. Now holding Wine close in his arms, Jungkook watched her peaceful, innocent face, the same face that had quietly captured his heart. He, who couldn't express his feelings easily to anyone, but every time he saw her, her voice, her face, the way she looked at him, and now the way she slept, holding him tightly in a small fist, he smiled softly, gently. He caressed her cheek with his palm and pressed a tender kiss on her forehead, then another to her cheek. After a long day of work, seeing her face washed away all of his tiredness, and a small, content smile would linger on his lips. He sighed softly and pulled her even closer to his chest, closing his eyes to fall asleep with her in his arms. It was morning. One got up from the bed, but Jungkook wasn't beside her. She guessed he must be already at the office, as he always left early in the morning. Sitting up, she felt unsure what to do. She couldn't go to the university alone. She needed a guardian. But an idea struck her. She would go to Jungkook's office and somehow convince him to accompany her. With a deep sigh, she got ready and made her way to his company. Stepping into the building, one felt a mix of nervous and hesitation. There, was the first time she had been in Jungkook's office since their marriage. She approached the reception and softly asked, "Can I meet Jeon Jungkook?" The reception frowned. "May I know who you are?" One froze. She wasn't sure what to say. Everyone in the office knew Jungkook was married, but neither of them had been appear in public together. No one knew about his wife, how she looked like. Standing there, Wyan hesitated, wondering if she should introduce herself, what if Jungkook minded. After a moment, she said, "Just tell him my name, Wyan. That's enough." The reception shook her head. "Sorry, ma'am, but you can't just meet him like this." Just then, Jungkook's secretary appeared. "What's going on there?" she asked, frowning. "The lady wants to meet Sir Jeon Jungkook." The receptionist explained. The secretary looked at Wyan critically. "And who are you?" "My name is Wyan," she replied, her voice steady. "Just tell him my name, please. It's important to meet him." The secretary sighed. "Sir is in the meeting. It will take some time." "I will wait," she said firmly. "Just tell him, please." The secretary's irritation was evident, but she relented. "Then you will have to wait here, ma'am." One nodded and took a seat. The secretary left quietly with a long sigh. It had been around an hour and a half, yet one was still waiting for Jungkook patiently. Sometimes she called him, but he never picked up. Just then the secretary passed by again, and the receptionist quietly spoke to her. "That girl is still waiting for Sir. Did you tell him about her? The secretary whispered back, frustrated. Are you out of your mind? Sir is in an important meeting. He is busy. How could I possibly tell him about some random girl? Just tell her that Sir is very busy and doesn't want to meet her right now. Ask her to leave. The receptionist nodded. After the secretary walked away, she approached Wine. Seeing her, Wine stood up. Sir is busy and asks you to leave. He cannot meet you right now. The receptionist said. Wine's heart sank at her words. She stood frozen for a moment, unsure what to do. She knew Jungkook had been forced into this marriage, yet he had always fulfilled all his responsibilities towards her. Now she realized she was bothering him with something as trivial as this, disturbing his work. With a heavy heart and aging sorrow, Wan turned and left the office, her heart heavy with sadness and regret. Wan froze. She couldn't call Jungkook. He must be in the meeting, and she didn't want to burden him. Calling her father was impossible too. He was already under tremendous pressure because of the company situation. She couldn't trouble anyone with her. Quickly, she whispered to the nurse, actually, I live alone. The nurse softened her tone. Oh, that must make it difficult for you to handle everything. Wyan said nothing, quietly lost in thoughts. The nurse continued gently. You just focus on resting. I'll take care of everything. You can tell me if you need anything, and when you are ready to be discharged, I'll guide you through it. Wyan nodded faintly. Okay, I'll rest. She whispered. The nurse smiled and added, from now on, just sleep and take care of yourself. Don't move unnecessarily. If you need anything, just call me. With that, she left the room, leaving Wine alone, surrounded by quiet loneliness and the familiar sadness that had always accompanied her. She let herself drift into rest, surrendering the sleep she so desperately needed, even though thoughts of her life and its burden lingering in her heart. On the other hand, Jungkook had finished his meeting. He sank into the chair in his cabin and casually checked his phone. His eyes wandered. 5 missed calls from Wayne. His brow frowned, and under his breath he muttered, "Oh my God." His phone had been on silent. Without a second thought, he immediately called her back. After 2 rings, a lady picked up. Jungkook's frown deepened. "Hello, sir," she said politely. "That's my wife's phone. Who is this?" Jungkook's voice was cold and sharp. Jungkook froze, his chest tightened, his heart pounded fastly. For a moment everything seemed to stop. "Sir, are you there?" The lady's voice pulled him back to sense. "Yes, yes, I'm coming," he said. His voice trembling as he muttered, his hands shaking slightly. "How's she? Is she okay?" "She's unconscious, but safe. You can come to the hospital," the lady reassured him. "Yeah, yeah, I'm coming," Jungkook said again, urgently flooding his every moment. Without wasting another second, he left the office, moving faster than he ever had, his mind consumed with worry for Wayne. After a while, Jungkook arrived at the hospital and approached the reception desk. His voice was sharp and urgent. "I called my wife, but someone told me she's been in," he said. The reception realized who he meant, nodded quietly. "She's in room 301." Without wasting another word, Jungkook strode towards the room. As he about to enter, a nurse stepped forward. "I'm sorry, sir. Who are you?" In a low, commanding voice, Jungkook replied, "My wife is inside." The nurse frowned, slightly confused. "Your wife?" "Yes, my wife," he repeated. His tone leaving no room for doubt. "She's in there." The nurse hesitated. "But that girl said she lives alone. She doesn't have any family." Jungkook froze, his hand clenched into fist, muscle tightening with anger and disbelief. "What? What nonsense is this? I'm her husband." The nurse instinctively stepped back. Shivering, she saw the dark, stormy look in his eyes. "I'm sorry, sir. I only repeated what she told me. I asked her for a family contract, but she said she lives alone." Jungkook's shock was momentary but fierce, his mind spinning. The nurse looked down nervously at his expression, the chill of his intensity running down her spine. Slowly she added, "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know. You can see her now, but please don't disturb her. She is asleep from the medication." Jungkook nodded without a word and stepped into the room. Inside he saw her, fragile, pale, weak, lying on the hospital bed. His chest tightened painfully. Seeing her like this, so delicate, brought a sharp edge to his heart. Memories of the nurse's earlier words flashed through his mind. How she hadn't called him after the hadn't want to bother him. The thought gnawed at him. His hands trembled slightly as he imagined what could have happened if he hadn't checked his phone, if he hadn't called her. The possibility. His heart thudded in his chest. Gently he sat beside her, take her hand in his large hand. He began caressing her softly, eyes softened but still carrying a faint dark edge of cold intensity. He simply stared at her, watching her fragile form. Just then Jungkook's phone rang again. He pulled it from his pocket and answered. On the other hand, a middle-aged man spoke hesitantly. Are you one's guardian? Jungkook's voice turned icy and sharp. Yes, who is this? The man cleared his throat. I am one's principal at her university. Today I asked her to bring her guardian to the university, but she didn't come. Jungkook frowned deepened. Why? What happened? He asked, his tone still cold. The principal explained. She got into a fight with a classmate, and her classmate even accused her of cheating on an exam. That's why I called her guardian. But she didn't come, and she didn't answer my calls, so I thought I should call you directly. Jungkook's expression remained icy. I can't come right now. I'm busy. I'll come whenever I'm free. Without waiting for the principal to respond, he hung up. Jungkook then sighed and said that, what is happening and why would you do that? Jungkook looked at her, waiting patiently for the moment she would wake.